So good. You can hear me? So good. You know, these things are easy for those who use them all the time. And every time I do it, I always mess it up somehow. So it's good that it's all good. You guys look amazing today, by the way. I hope you guys are ready because today's a great day. I mean, this morning has already been so good. I can't tell you how much I thank our worship team for where they led us this morning in worship. I mean, they pretty much kicked down the walls for you, and they pretty much made a way for you, and I appreciate that so much because nobody ever, we don't, these things don't communicate together. Like, I don't tell anybody what's in my notes, or same with the pastors, they don't say anything about what's in the notes. They don't know what's going on. They just hear from the Lord, they trust, and they go with it. And I'm so thankful for our pastors, and I'm thankful for their place in my life, and for the places that they have led us all these years, for even them allowing me even an opportunity to share. I thank them for that. I give honor to them, and I know that God is going to do continually good things. I even want to thank even Papa Dave and Mama Vivian. They have poured into us for years and years. And as one who has sat in the chairs for years and years, I have learned some things. And I'm so thankful for that. And so I encourage you as you're here, as you sit, as you listen, that you might grab hold of what you hear, that you might take that and apply it. Whatever it is, take it and apply it. Put it. I tell the kids in youth all the time. Yes, I did call you kids. I try not to do that, but they are kids because I'm older. So I tell them all the time, find something, look for it. When you hear someone speak, I want you to listen, find something that you can grab hold of and put in your pocket, something that you say, this is mine. I'm holding on to this is mine, and then use it. Even if you heard someone else say it, if it's relevant to you, if it's revelation to you, if it's truth to you, freedom to you, use it. It's now yours. You take it as yours. I'm going to lay hold, the Word of God says, right? I'm going to lay hold of that which He has already laid up for me. Lay hold of it. So I encourage you guys, whoever it is who speaks, always look for it. Be searching for it. Because He's here. He's already been walking through the rows this morning. He's already been walking through and meeting with us. He's already been touching. He's already been pulling. He's already been kicking down walls. He's already been showing you how faithful He is, how much He loves you. He's already done it. We've sang songs, we've worshiped, and even Danya coming up this morning, encouraging us to continue to break through. And it happens when we pray, it happens when we worship, it happens when we give glory, and when we say, God, I'm going to praise you, and I'm going to trust you through my breakthrough. That's me. I choose you. And today you're going to hear some words, and the word choose is going to come up a lot because she said it even in the words she said this morning. You have to help him out. He's there, and he's always going to be there, but in some way he is absolutely waiting for you to choose him. He lays the path out. He's got the plans for you. He knows the thoughts that He thinks towards you, and you can rest in that. You can grab hold of that, but it is absolutely our part to say, God, I choose it. I choose you, and I will go, right? And I will walk, and I will make the step, and I will do whatever it is that you're asking of me. It's a two-part. He didn't make robots. God didn't make robots. He's not a robot, right? And so we choose. We have to choose. And so it's so wonderful as just hearing those words. So thank you, Danya, for being bold. Thank you for that. I'm thankful for our generations that are younger who are going to continue, and I'm saying are going to continue, because we prophetically speak into their lives that from the youngest, which are in our room right now, which is our 6th graders who are here today. It's our fifth Sunday. On the 5th Sunday, they stay in. It's not just because it's me, just so you know. So they from the youngest to the oldest, we prophesy and continue that we're all going to continue on to advance the kingdom together. That's why we're going to join connect groups and advance the kingdom together. And we're going to buy some lemonade next week. Just a little plug. Join me, Mark 10. Mark 10, right around here is verse 46. You're going to see is some things here, the little header that says, Jesus heals blind Bartimaeus. Do you remember back in the beginning of the year, I don't know, February-ish, we had a nice week of prayer meetings. It was like an all week, right? So much good stuff happening then. Well, the Lord had showed me a few things there, and he had reminded me of a few things there, and a lot of it is here. And so one of the things I will share with you, what he showed me was, and this was because you've heard this before, about how God is establishing. God is setting in motion some things. There's a planting, there's some setting in, there's some movement even. And there was a night when I came in, no, I didn't come in, sorry. There was a night before we came in, I saw piles of laundry. That's what I saw. I saw piles of laundry in the back of the church. And I don't usually see things like that, but I see piles of laundry, and I'm asking the Lord, and he's telling me that those are the garments that are being exchanged. They're the garments that are being changed. They're the garments that are being thrown off. They're the garments that are being tossed out and changed. And it was a pile, not just a little. It was a pile, establishing that God, that's what God was doing, and that people were literally doing that. They don't even, you may not realize that you were doing that, but you're exchanging. You're exchanging what was for what is. You're taking away from what hinders to walk in a new freedom. That's exchanging a garment. The word talks about the garment of praise, putting it on. Anyway, and we're exchanging it for the heaviness. So here in Mark, and you're going to see this here, and I'm going to tie it together for you. I'm going to put on these glasses so I can see. So just so y'all know, I've had two cataract surgeries in my 40s. Now, before you laugh, most people do, because I'm a little on the younger side for cataract surgery. I know what it is to not be able to read and not be able to see. So I'm borrowing my husband's Bible today because mine is new. I have a new Bible, which I love, but it's different. It looks different, and I'm so visual, so that now that I can actually see better, but I still can't see close, I'm still getting there. So bear with me with back and forth. All right? And I'm borrowing his Bible because I like his text better, or his font. All right, let's read here. Mark 10:46. Now they came in Jericho. As he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great multitude, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the road begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Then many warned him to be quiet, but he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. So Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called. They called the blind man, saying to him, Be of good cheer, rise, he's calling you. Throwing aside his garment, he rose and came to Jesus. So Jesus answered and said to him, What do you want me to do for you? The blind man said to him, Rabboni, that I may receive my sight. Then Jesus said to him, Go your way. Your faith has made you well. And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus on the road. Go your way. Your faith has made you well. Which part did his faith was in? At what point was his faith in action? Which part was his faith in action? Was it the part where he came in front of Jesus? Was it the part when he was yelling, Jesus, Son of David? Which part? The Lord would say to us, it's this really special part, and it's the part where he threw off his garment. That's where I believe he was saying, your faith has made you well. Bartimaeus, a blind man begging on the side of the road, takes his garment after he's been told to shush. they finally say, oh, he's calling you. So he gets up, right? He's been told to rise. He's got a couple things going on here. There's actions that are taking place. But the most important one that I want you to see is the fact that he takes the garment, he takes the cloak in some translations, and he throws it aside. Then he rises and he goes to find Jesus face to face. And that's when he's asked, what do you want? And that's when he's healed. He threw off his garment. You have to understand that in this place, he is dependent on that. He's identified by that. Everyone knows him by that. This is something that people used for everything. Their shelter, they used it to spread out in front of them so that they can set up their shops to beg. It was important to him. It was keeping him warm because it's understood that he doesn't have a home. So it's important to realize that Bartimaeus had vision before he had vision. Here he is, save it, Jesus, Jesus, son of David, I know who you are. I know who you are. Have mercy on me. Look at me. Would you see me? And Jesus stops and he stands still. Jesus is walking through the road, guys, and he's walking through our road, and he's walking through aisleways, and he's standing still, and he's just asking for response. It was his faith to shed that garment, to come up, to stand face to face, and he was healed. He says, Jesus says, go your way. Your faith has made you well. He didn't go his own way. It says here that he actually followed Jesus after he got his sight. So we see these two dynamics happening. Why is this important? Because we sometimes, even when we're waiting on Jesus, when we want Jesus to do something for us, when we need something, a miracle, a circumstance change, a breakthrough, a walk change, a scenery change, whatever it may be, oftentimes we keep the cloak, we keep the garment, we stand in front of him with it on, and we're asking him, what are you going to do? And we wait for him to prove himself to us before we trust him. And Bartimaeus did the opposite. It was radical. I'm telling you, radical faith. That he, instead of waiting for Jesus to prove himself, he literally rips off every piece of his identity, everything that's familiar to him, everything that's comfortable, anything that he knows. And he throws it aside, and he stands in front of Jesus, and then that's when his breakthrough happens. There is a component of a garment change. There's this place of radical faith. I'm not going to stand in front of Jesus with my garment of heaviness, with my anger, with my unforgiveness, with my shame, with my rejection, and then just wait for him to prove himself. No, Jesus acknowledged it was your faith that made you well. It was your faith, your choice, your choice. Bartimaeus had to choose. No one told him to take his cloak off before he went to go see the King of Kings. They said, rise, he's calling you. Bartimaeus made the choice to take that garment off. See, he was an example of healing. We read through this, easy. Example of healing, check. But make no mistake, this example of Bartimaeus has everything to do with identity. And Jesus has been reading this with me over and over for the last couple of years. I cannot tell you, because it's about this little piece of identity. Because once he establishes this place of saying no to what hinders, it allows him to move forward. It's not just about his sight. It's not just about the natural. It has a whole lot to do with his identity of who he is, who he knows Jesus to be, and where he's going in the future. And so he chooses that day to set it aside. Imagine us doing the same thing, throwing off the things that we hold, things that are familiar, things that we know. Man, we just gotta, sometimes we just have things we just need to get straightened, and we don't. Sometimes we still hang on to things. Sometimes we have one arm. Maybe we thought we removed the garment, but really we have an arm through one, and we're still carrying the rest of it around. The lie is that you don't have to. The lie is that you don't have to change your garment. The lie is that you don't have to set aside in order to walk fully in the new. There are people who walk with the old thinking that they're walking in freedom, thinking that they're advancing. And it's a lie that we deceive ourselves, believing that we can hold on to what hinders us and still walk in freedom. It doesn't go together. We have to shed, and we have to take off, and we have to do it on our own. There are times when he helps us. There are times when he guides. There are times when we pray, all of those things. But your desire, your will, it's been said even through worship today, you have to choose your will, my will. I choose. Angie choose. I choose to. If we don't, our faith may not be activated as it should be. But known even in our own understanding. Oh, it's a family thing. Oh, that's just the way she is. Whatever it happens to be. There is a new freedom, and there is an establishing that is happening, and there's a place that we're going in the future. There is a place that we are stepping, and I mean future as in like tomorrow, because it is happening. There is a move of God that is happening, and there are people who are stepping foot. Even the nights of prayer, there are people who made choices during those weeks of prayer. They made choices to say, God, I'm going to stand where you want me to. I'm going to position myself. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing to stay. And even when you give me the authority to choose my way, I'm going to choose yours. I'm going to walk your road. So Bartimaeus was there, holding on to this cloak, sitting. And it tells me in the word when it says to be of good cheer. Chances are his cry wasn't one that was the joyful. It also tells me when Jesus told him to rise, he wasn't standing at the time either. He had to make a choice. There were two actions that were huge. He had to throw that garment, and he had to choose to rise. Even though he couldn't see, he didn't know where Jesus was, he just knew that he was there. So we assume that they guided him, right? They took him to them. Where does Bartimaeus go now? Where do we go now? What's new? Now he's free. Now he's got sight. Now he sees the world and he's perceiving it completely different. In the spirit, that happens to us as well. When we say yes, when we allow God to go further and to allow us more freedom, that's exactly what happens. We start walking in these ways and we start, oh, this is new. This feels weird. Why does it feel weird? Because it's not comfortable anymore, right? It's not familiar anymore. They're new steps. They're supposed to be new. They're supposed to feel different. And yet at the same time, the old and the new tend to clash and fight for coexistence. The old will continue to fight for coexistence. You have to choose to say, I'm not going to pick that garment up. I left it there. Even if I was fine 10 years ago and I'm picking, no way, I'm not going to pick it up. That was then, this is now. It's been spoken, we're walking it through. The word that had been spoken, this is then, or that is then, this is now. We are walking in it. And we're walking in new places that God is establishing new things. He's setting up new things. He's planting. Our church, the churches of Rancho Christian Center, Desert Christian Center, we all stand in Isaiah 43:19. Behold, I do a new thing. What's the next part? Do you not see it? Has to do with our eyesight. It has to do with our vision. God is in the middle of us, and he hears you, and he wants to hear from you, and when he does, he stands still. I think, even I've read this a few times, it blows my mind that God stood still. He does that for us, and then he calls us. So radical faith, absolutely radical faith. With regards to these new things, we have to continually choose those paths. It's one of those things I was talking to Rick about it, the comfortable places, the familiar places. it makes us, when you're walking through a new place, it makes it very easy to understand how the people of Israel felt when they left Egypt. When they left Egypt, sometimes when we talk about how they were grumbling and complaining about how they'd rather go back, and we think, no, why would you go back? But think about it for a second. Even in harsh circumstances, not the best circumstances, difficult ones, we learn to cope, we learn to get used to, we learn to manage. You use all these words. We learn to do that. We walk through it with the Lord, but we're going through motions in these circumstances. And even if it's not the best, you know what you need to do in order to make it better for you or your family. They're not any different. So it makes us remember that even when we look through these past things, and we look at even them who, gosh, you think, gosh, I would never go back to slavery. I would never want to go do that. But thinking about them and all they knew, if that's all you knew, you would say to yourself, well, I would rather manage, even if it's not the best, because I know what to expect. Do you know that when God does new things, our expectation level is going to be a little different. We're expecting him to do things, but also in that, we cannot expect to know. Let me throw some grace to a few of you. Some of you have been answering. You've been saying yes to the Lord. You've been in a season where you're saying, yes, I'm going. I don't care who goes with me, but I'm going to go. And Lord, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to answer the call, and I'm going to be faithful and obedient. I'm going to serve where I need to serve, and I'm going to get plugged in where I need to serve. All these things. There's some of you who are there. Sometimes what happens is when we are in the middle of these new places that are uncomfortable and they're unknown and we don't know what to expect, the best thing to do is to continue. And I'm going to read this other verse to you in a second, but I want you to know that what God is doing is he's creating in you and creating something that has not been created before. That's why you can't expect. That's why you can't know fully. You haven't walked this way. That's why the Israelites were told, look at the Ark of the Covenant. Look at the Ark ahead of you. You've never gone this way before. God said, look there. Focus. He made a provision for them. He makes a provision for us. We got to choose to stay the course and choose to stay on the road. No more bystanding, no more sidelining. When we choose to say yes and we choose to go, we're going to walk the path he's given us, and we're going to allow ourselves to be led back to this place of grace for you in this place. Realize that you cannot mimic your life and the stage of your life after someone else. And we do it all the time. Okay, so, yep, we're there. Now, I've been there, I took the step, now I know what I'm supposed to do next, or I know what something is going to happen next, because it happened for her, and it happened for him. That was the next thing. And that's not the way it happens. You know what happens? We get disillusioned with what God's doing because we put our mind in action as to what it's supposed to be. We start telling the Lord in our mind and our anticipations and our expectations of how he's supposed to ordain this walk of ours. And he's got steps you've never seen. And he's just trying to say, come on, kid, I got more for you, but you got to keep going this way. Right? This way, these steps. Don't worry about what's around you. Don't worry what God did for Denise. Don't worry about what God did for Rochelle. I'm going to show up for you. It's going to look different. And I throw out grace to you because there's a ton of you who are literally walking through new places, and you need someone to tell you that it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel wonky. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You might even get that what do you call that, buyer's remorse after you say yes? You think, oh man, what did I show up for? What did I sign up for? Right? You get the buyer's remorse even in the kingdom. It happens. You walk away after your meeting with the pastor after you said yes, and you walk away and you think, oh man, what did I say? Right? Don't fret. Don't worry about those things. God knows, God has it. He has ordained steps for you that don't look like someone else's. This is huge for me. It's huge for my husband. We've literally walked those ways before. We have absolutely seen him come together for us in ways that no one could have done. And it's not a way we could have expected. He did it outside of our knowledge. He did it outside of what we said. Oh, well, even take Rick's job. He could say, well, if I get into this position, then I know what my next ladder is, right? Then you get there and you think to yourself, yep, once I get there, then I know what the next move is. Because that's what everyone else's path looked. Guess what? God's going to do a new thing. And he's asking you, do you see it? Because it's not going to look like everyone else's path. He's going to still show up, and he's still going to do it. And the best thing that I have walked away with, some of the things that I've put in my pocket of my own life circumstances and my own life testimonies, and I will say it over and over, is that the best testimony is when you can say, God did it. I could not have done this on my own. I could not have manipulated the circumstance. I could not have controlled this. I could not have held on to it. I could not have made it happen on my own. It's the best testimony you could ever have, because you're allowing the Lord to create in you what isn't already created. And that's what's happening. As we're continuing, as we're advancing, you're not going to walk the same way. Bart could not walk the same way. He's literally seeing now. Now imagine if you could not see anything and now you see everything. Imagine what that transition must have been like. His perceptions, now granted, he has perceptions, he has knowledge. Even though he couldn't see, he's got knowledge of stuff, right? He can hear. He knows what people say and where things are. But he's looking at it totally different. He's actually seeing things that he never saw before. And it's the coolest part, because all because of his choice. I love the fact that he says, he's yelling and screaming. Years ago in a youth meeting, I heard Pastor Bob, he's yelling and he's screaming. Now, granted, I've done the yelling and the screaming on that part too, because I think it's incredible to do it. You know why? Because there's something in me sometimes that just has to get that radical. There's something in me sometimes that just has to break the silence in my own self. Levi was talking about the shy and the introverts. Sometimes we have to break the silence in our own selves. And sometimes that happens through prayer. Sometimes it happens through worship. And we just have to yell it out. Jesus, right? Son of David, have mercy on me. Yes, I know who you are. You are the Son of God. You are, right? I know who you are. I love how he literally is so bold with it, and he's desperate. You see the desperateness in Bart, but this is the coolest part. So he's dependent. Watch for the places where you're not. And I'm going to say that nice. We sometimes are not so dependent on the Lord. Sometimes we've got control so well handled that our dependency on him becomes less and less. When in reality, the deeper we go with the Lord, our trust level and our growth needs to go deeper and deeper and more. And that's the linear way, right? That's supposed to happen. Jacob, right? Jacob, we're talking about, we're in Genesis 46 for this year. Jacob had to make a radical choice to leave what he knew. Everything that he knew to be his promise, everything that he knew to be his provision. He had to hear the word, and then he had to take action. We ourselves absolutely have to do the same. We can hear the word, and the word comes. He is faithful to speak it. Whether it's in our quiet time that we hear him, or it's from the pulpit here with someone speaking something and we hear it, we have to take the action in order to see the fruit of it. God's going to speak the truth to you all day long, but you physically have to sometimes move. You have to Put yourself in a place of, I hear it, I know who you are, and I trust you, and that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to do whatever you say, and I'm just going to make that step. Our dependency sometimes gets a little shaky in that regard because we get so used to manipulating and controlling situations. And the Lord told me really clearly at the beginning of the year. I'll tell you what he told me. Let me get my glasses because I don't want to mess it up. He told me, if you are in a place where you are able to control everything and you don't need to depend on God, then you may be in a depot in Canaan and not on the road to Egypt like you thought. If I don't depend on him, if I'm not willing to move when he says move, if I've got everything situated, I don't need the word of the Lord for me enough to know when he's telling me to move and go in this time, and now it's time and I'm supposed to move, I've lost it. I've missed the boat. I might think I'm on the road to Egypt, but I'm not. I'm sitting there in Canaan still, waiting for something for the Lord to do. When all the Lord is saying is, I already told you what to do. You now have to choose to do it. That's where our freedom comes from. That's when we start walking through these places. That's when we continue in the new. We expand. One of the things I love, a picture that the Lord showed me years ago about the expansion, about the our tents, right? The tent pegs, there's a verse, I don't have it handy. There's the tent pegs, right? He says, I'm going to enlarge your tent, right? I'm going to enlarge your tent. You have to, in order to enlarge, you have to pick up the tent pegs of the old first. Sometimes you're supposed to move. Sometimes it's time. And we all are in a place of advancement in whatever place you're in. Hopefully you are, right? That's the goal, right? Glory to glory, that we're not going to stay the same. We're going to keep going. The church is not going to wait. He's going to go. He's going to keep moving. He just wants to know, are you going to come with me? Because I made it clear. I'm saying it. I'm speaking it. Are you going to rise when I say rise and come? Because he's calling you. Yes? Will you? Will you call? Will you, or will you be the other who will say, no, I'm okay here. This is fine. This is good enough for now. I know what to expect here. I can carry my garment, even if it's half on. I'll be fine. I've got a little bit of freedom over here. I can carry it over here, no problem, and I can still function. Wow. Now, you might think I'm making fun of it, but I've been there. That's how I know, right? And the word even says to be not to be hearers, right? But doers of the word, that you might not be deceiving yourselves. What is that, right? It's basically saying you could look in the mirror and you could hear something and come back and see nothing else. Nothing changes. It's meaning that you could hear it over and over and it's not going to go anywhere. It doesn't continue in you because you haven't grasped it. Doers. Psalms 25:5. It is a verse that the youth group has heard a couple times. They've heard me say it a couple of times. And I love it because I have often been in places where I'm asking the Lord what to do, how to navigate new things, how to navigate new places, how to navigate through places I'm not comfortable or familiar with because it's something that's changed or something that's different. And I've shared it with them. I'll share it with you. Psalms 25:5 says, guide me in your truth and teach me. You are God, my Savior. My hope is in you all day long. How do you navigate new? How do you walk in the new? You strap this verse right on your heart and you remind yourself, God, teach me and guide me. Show me how to be humble. I don't want to be too proud that I can't learn. I need to learn from you. I need to learn from others who are in my life. Teach me however you want. Teach me, guide me. I'm establishing that you are my God. I'm declaring you are my God. It's all there. My hope is in you. How much? All day long. All day long. Whenever you're struggling with what is and what is to come and how to keep going, keep the word of God in your heart. Keep the path. Don't be the sideliner. Just stay on, even if you don't fully understand, if you fully don't feel comfortable, you're fully unknowing, right? All of those things. But God is doing something in the midst today. Even through worship, it's been constant reminders of the walls that God's kicking down, right? Why? For us to be what? Free. He's doing it, and he started it as soon as we got here today. And he's going to continue walking through the aisles of this church this morning, and he's going to stand still if you need him. If you're ready to start shedding some garments, if you're ready to say, I'm not going to be bound by these things, what would happen, church? What would happen if the saints started choosing to walk away from the lies of the enemy and choosing on their own? What would happen? I can tell you what will happen. Restoration starts happening. Redemption starts happening. Deliverance starts happening. Authority starts resting. That's what starts happening when saints say, you know what, I'm not going to identify with anger. I'm not walking around with unforgiveness. I'm not going to walk anymore with worthlessness. I'm not going to allow these things to be on me. I'm not going to walk around this way anymore. I'm not going to walk around with the word proud on the back of my shirt. There's a generation that was taught that being proud was good. And it is. There's a good side of proud. But sometimes we have to be taught that the true strength is in humility. It's in humility. The true strength that we're looking for is in humility. It's not in pride. It's not in being too proudful that somebody can't help us, that someone can't do something for us. I've got to do it myself. I don't want to walk around anymore with rejection over my back. I don't want to walk anymore with abandonment striped, named all over my back. It's okay. I don't want to walk around this way anymore. I'm not going to identify, like Bartimaeus said, I'm not going to identify with blind. I'm not going to identify with outcast. I'm not going to identify as forgotten. Yes, he said, I'm going to take it off. I'm throwing it aside, and I'm going to stand before Jesus, and I'm going to allow him to change my identity, and he's going to continue to do it, and he's going to do it every step I take after him. He's establishing so that you can walk fuller, so that you can walk freer, so that you can walk not hindered. Sometimes we think we're doing just fine. We feel like we're moving, but we're not. Sometimes it's just simple. Simple, simple, simple. Shed the garment, shed the stuff that we just said. I don't want to walk around with that. And I'm not going to do a halfway job either. I'm not going to do a halfway job. Papa Dave talks about all the time about how we actually get free. It's the whole thing. It's all of it. Hands and feet, all of it. I can't do half. I'm not going to allow the lie of the enemy to tell me that I can walk around bound and hindered and still walk free. Can't. And sometimes we do it not realizing that we're doing it. Because it's what? It's familiar. It's comfortable. And a lot of times the new means something scary. Or the new means something too much. You know what I love about Bart? He stood in front of Jesus. And I truly believe there's this place in his heart that was like, you, King of Kings, right, Son of David, you are enough for me. You are enough. I'm not going to stand in anything that I know. Nothing that I know. I'm going to stand in front of you, and I'm going to allow you to say what you're going to say. I don't know what you're going to say. I don't know what you're going to do. I can't see anybody. I can't even see you. I can only hear you. And yet, his choice was so brilliant when he was told you could go your way, and he followed him on the road after that. we also find ourselves by the way of the road. God, Jesus is walking on our roads, and he's literally allowing us access. And he will stop still for us, waiting for us to choose, right? I would be happy to take that unforgiveness. I would be happy to take that anger. I would be happy to take that depression and anxiety. I would be happy to take away that contentment issue. I would be happy to show you that I love you. I'd be happy to. Do you want? What do you want? That's why I asked him, what do you want? What do you want? By the way of the road. We often find ourselves there as well. By the way of the road. We see him, we hear him, and sometimes we just let him go. I don't know, not today. Man, not only God, are you good enough, but my heart is that I can't get enough. I'm going to follow you, even if I don't understand. Even if I don't get it, even if I'm not perfect at what I'm doing, even if I'm not brilliant at my new thing or my new task or whatever it is, lots of you are grabbing hold of things that are new to you. Don't be discouraged in your unknowing. No one can be an expert on day one. And yet we put a pressure on ourselves that we should. We've been watching other people. Well, they're good at it. Yes, but you don't realize what they had to do, the process that God took them through. You don't see what happened. You don't see the walk. Sometimes I remind myself, you got a new refrigerator. And it had problems. Lots of problems. We finally get a new one. I'm so excited. New fridge that works, right? I'm not going to be scraping ice out of the deli drawer anymore, right? It comes, gets assembled, gets installed, all the tape and the wrap get taken off. I'm excited about this refrigerator. I hate it. It's not like my other one. It's not assembled the same way. The shelves and the drawers are different. I can't put anything in there the same way I used to. I have to create new ways to store what I used to store and then know where they are. Because I always grabbed here. It was a habit. It was I knew that. And God teaches us even in the smallest of ways. Angie, it's the refrigerator. It's not a big deal. Just go with it. And I'm talking about a refrigerator, but you and I both know with our lives, we have to do the same thing. I'm used to this. I'm used to that. I'm used to that person being there. There will be days when those people won't be there. They will be moving on and doing other things because they're advancing, because they're continuing. Things shift sometimes. What have I learned? Who am I going to trust? Who am I going to trust? Who is he to me? You have heard me say it over and over. I've said it to the youth. You will know who you are when you know who God is. And if you don't know who God is, find him. Our job is not to give you information. Our job is not to give you all about Jesus. This is not going to be an information time. No. I'm going to help you the best I can, my desire, and every pastor who stands here to help you find who he is, to find him. We're not going to try to give you info. You can get that on your own, right? Talk to any of the younger generation. They don't need our information. They can find anything they want at their fingertips. But they don't have the God-inspired, Holy Spirit-inspired Word of God that you can speak and deliver. That's what people need. That's what we're going to do. That's the way we're going to walk. Because I could talk all day long about what God does and what he did. But if I don't explain and I don't share and I don't ask God, what's more? What are you saying in that? He's writing in between the lines, right? He's walking through the paths. He's walking down the aisles. That we might grab hold of him and want him so much. We don't want to walk around any more hindered. We don't want to walk around any more blind. We want vision. We need vision. Man, Bartimaeus naturally was totally blind, right? But in the spirit, he was light years away. He was ready. What was going on in the natural was manifesting in the spirit. He was ready to see. And he knew the key was his identity. I can't walk this way anymore. I'm going to throw that aside. God is doing a work in hearts. And there's definitely places where God's going to pull and he's going to be there. He's going to want you to come. We have to choose. You've heard it said before, God won't make you, right? He's waiting for you to say yes. He's waiting for you to rise because he's calling. He's just waiting for you to rise. But before you do, throw it aside. Whatever it is that hinders, whatever it is that holds us back, whatever it is. If that's you, I don't want to walk anymore in the old. I don't want to walk any more hindered. I don't want to do any more of what I've been doing. I know that God's called me for other things. I know that my steps are absolutely ordered in front of me, and I want to get there. And I'm okay with the new. I know that I'm going to trust him through the new, and I need to get something in step form because I need to take away, and I need to strip off, and I need to take off the old. That is you. I want to pray. I don't want to go another minute without praying. I don't want to say, oh, thank you guys. That's great. I hope you enjoyed. Because we need help sometimes. Sometimes we just need help. And sometimes we need to choose. So today there's a choice to be made. And it's your choice. He's asking you to rise and to come because he's calling you. And your choice is to say, okay, I'm going to come, and before I do, I'm going to take what is hindering me, what I don't understand, what is sinful to me, what is binding me. I'm going to take those things off. I'm going to throw those things aside, and then I will come, and I will put myself face to face with the King of Kings, and I will allow him to begin establishing me, to identify me, to brand me right there by his side. I'm not going to go any longer in the old. I'm not going to do halfway. I'm going to do all the way. If that's you, you need to come. I will pray. We will do it. And I just want you guys to continue. I'm going to pray some more even as we're standing here, because if that's not you and you want to go and you need to go, feel free. But just know that there is a place for you to go tomorrow, to walk tomorrow different than you did today. There is an establishing, a place where God's asking, and don't be afraid. Trust that he's going to make a way. Trust that he's going to do it. God, we just pray today that you would establish these, that you would continue to grow these, that God, you would point the way, that God, they would hold on to this verse, that you're going to guide, that you're going to teach, and they're going to proclaim that you are their God, and that they will hope in you all day long, and that tomorrow they will hope in you all day long, and next week they're going to hope in you all day long, because day after day, glory to glory, we're going to continue to stretch and expand and be free. We're not going to walk anymore halfway, hindered. No, we're going to ask God for you to establish these people today. God, let there be a blessing over them. Be blessed in the church today, over everyone who can hear from home to here. God, let you be glorified today. Lord, let there be a place of excitement in hearts. Let there be a place of seeking after you like none before. Lord, let there be even a declaration in some of our mouths that, God, you are enough for me, and I want nothing but more of you. That's what I want. So when you ask me, what do you want me to do? I'm going to say, I just want you. And let you, Jesus, take away. Let you take control. Let you do it. Let you do it. I'm just going to put my hands on some of you as you walk through. I want you to stay in the place that you are. You are meeting with the Lord. You are here because God has asked you to come face to face, and I'm just going to come through and touch you, and then don't worry about where we are and what's going on. Focus on Him for a minute, and we'll just keep going. I'm going to turn this mic off, though, so you won't hear me anymore.